friends, hope you are well. It's tech and telco news time. Welcome back to the Dirt Report. Few updates from last week. If you remember the fellow who downloaded 34 terabytes in 1 month on their fiber NBN, well, she has been kicked into the digital curb by Aussie Broadband. Here is my problem. If the data wasn't illegal, let's say it was just syncing your 34 terabytes of cat photos and not like pirating, then Aussie Broadband's dictionary is a bit broken. I thought it was unlimited. Well, obviously it isn't. Unlimited must mean something completely different in the Aussie Broadband's world. So let's be clear, it seems that unlimited is equal to 34 terabytes per month. It was a squandered positive NBN story that their network actually managed to have that data flow through it. But I can also imagine that they let this slide. Some other smart aleck would, I don't know, try and beat their record, and then could set off a domino effect to potentially disrupt the network entirely. I asked last week the amount of data you guys use each month, and no one really came close to 34 terabytes, which is fair, but I wonder how many terabytes it will take for other NBN providers to kick you off their connection. Maybe that person should go around and test all the NBN providers and see what unlimited really means. Alright, let's get started. There has been a lot of interesting news this week, a little bit more skewed towards the international news side, but fear not, there are still some Aussie related ones. So, in today's episode, we have Telstra NBN charity. Fiber to the node finally hits 25 megabits a second as promised. Find out why that is. ACCC to force big tech to do stuff, and on the international but still related side, Elon Musk's Starlink has new competition, and TikTok sales talk. Here we go. Welcome to youtube.com, place of many videos. Thanks for clicking on this one. If you like this video, then tap that like button, and if you'd like to see more, make sure you're subscribed. Let's start with our first topic, all about Telstra's amazing generosity. Sort of. Telstra has thrown some breadcrumbs to their customers. It's less generosity and more marketing. You see, NBN Co. this month has over-provisioned all connections bar fiber. What does that mean? Well, over this week, many Telstra customers started noticing that their non-peak time speeds were as advertised. Who would have thought? They were higher, faster, better, and stronger. I bet you're wondering, what the hell is going on? Well, you see, when they sell a 50 down plan, and 10 up, let's say, you will never really see 50 down. In this example, let's say you have fiber to the node, and the line can actually do 90 down, but you're paying for 50 down, but only get 40 in reality when you do a speed test. That's because your line is probably only syncing at 45, and then you still lose a bit from when you actually test your actual speed. So you pay for 50, sync at 45, but actually get 40, but your line can do 90 apparently. This is known as protocol overhead, the amount of bandwidth used up in carrying data packets ensuring they reach their intended destination. Kind of like when you buy a hard drive that says 2 terabytes, but it's like 1.84 terabytes. Similar, but not exact, obviously. Now, NBN Co. is over-provisioning connections, meaning that if you sync at 60, connect at 55, and then get 50 actual downloads at non-peak times, you're getting the speed as advertised. Now, the numbers don't really work like that in reality. Many people noted 10 megabits, 15% increase in their speed that has now been a bit closer to what they're actually paying for, but still not exactly. I mean, it's not a silver bullet. After all, this is a great move from NBN Co. I would actually go as far as applauding them. However, two things make me feel a little bit disheartened about that. One is that Telstra has taken it upon themselves to market this as a freebie to their customers, which is okay, I suppose, but it was in fact the ACCC who back in November last year called for the NBN to do exactly this. Now, to be fair, Telstra, they too called the NBN out on it. But the ACCC is who we have to thank for the sudden increase. And what annoys me most, however, is how this was not thought of to be done from the start. I can understand peak time speed decreases. You can explain that to me and I will say, okay, fine, not a happy Jan, but I get it. More people, things might slow down in my neighborhood. But the fact that during off-peak times, I'm still not able to get the speeds as advertised, you know, those flashy advertisements on the sides of buses, well, that's on NBN Co. Instead, they have to do all these laws, how they have to market the actual number you're going to get, the lowest one during peak times. There could have been so much less issues and complaints if this was done from day dot, or a few years ago at least. Now your RSP has to turn it on their side for you to get access to some of these extra bytes of the internet. And to be my own critic, maybe it's not as easy as flipping a switch for NBN, that is. Maybe it took 10 years to get to this. In any case, let me know below if you have noticed a speed increase and how much. If you haven't noticed anything yet, expect something in the next 30 days as RSPs complete some minor technical changes, aka flicking some switches. Next up, in the same vein, let's talk about coexistence and what it will mean for your fiber to the node connection. Well, it might finally mean that you get the minimum speed NBN spoke of back in the day. At the moment, the minimum for connections with coexistence still is 12 down. So if you're getting that on your fiber to node connection, you're fine, can't complain. Good luck with that. But now it's all coming to an end. Coexistence will slowly be turned off and the majority of fiber to node connections will be able to hit that magical 25 megabits target, and we'll have to just stop complaining because that's what they promised. Wait, don't celebrate just yet. As of this month, only 5,750 nodes out of 27,933 nodes have been switched, and it'll be quite a bit of time before all 27,000s are. The rest are expected to be turned off by December 2020. It's not soon, I mean, it's not too far, but it's getting there. I'm really excited. Now, potentially some people might even see an improvement on their connection in general, not just hitting that magical 25. Now, what do they mean by the majority? Well, there are still about 140,000 premises nationwide that are unable to hit 25 megabits a second, and it is unknown where the coexistence being turned off will actually help. In any case, I'm looking forward to December to see how things change. Alright, let's move on to our next story. The ACCC is not only making sure you get your terabytes of internet goodness quickly, but they're also protecting our Aussie news organizations. Not that the Murdoch press really needs it, but on Friday the ACCC released a document, the Draft News Media and Digital Platform Mandatory Bargaining Code. So how does this code, that while still sitting in draft, help our Australian news entities? Well, we have to go back to April.
In a dark dungeon, a man walks into a small room, 2 doors down from Peter Voldy Dutton's office. The young and rather well-dressed gentleman, who has majored in journalism, picked up a red headset from the base of an old turnstile phone. In a dimly lit room with nothing else but a table for the dirty red phone, it automatically starts dialing. A voice answered almost immediately, wondering short of instantly. "Yes," said the crackled voice. The young, well-dressed Morrison government representative said, "Sir, we need your help. We are being treated badly." A moment passed, then another. Then the voice of Rod Sims resembled an owl and asked, "Who?" The young, well-dressed Morrison government representative specializing in journalism, holding back a giggle, sighed and said, "Google, Facebook, and many others." The line cut out and a huge rumbling could be felt throughout the building. Take that with a grain of salt.
That's all I've heard of that story. The ACCC was tasked to develop a mandatory code of conduct to address bargaining power imbalances between Australia's news media businesses and digital platforms, specifically Google and Facebook. Now, this draft document will hopefully allow Australian news media businesses to bargain individually or collectively with Google and Facebook over payment for the inclusion of news on those services. It may finally mean that media outlets can make money. The code also includes a set of minimum standards for the treatment of news on digital platform services, addressing issues such as providing advance notice of changes to algorithm ranking and presentation of news, appropriate recognition of original news content, and providing information about how and when Google and Facebook make available user data collection through users' interactions with news contents. News outlets could be celebrating soon, but there are a few caveats. First off, under this code, you need to be predominantly producing core news and publishing it online. What's core news, you may ask? Well, it's journalism on publicly significant issues, journalism that engages Australians in public debate and informs democratic decision making, and journalism relating to community and local events, basically not the Daily Mail. Also, they must adhere to appropriate professional editorial standards, also maintain editorial independence from the subject of their news coverage. That's not all. Here is the best part in this document. It also outlines news sources that are unlikely to be covered under this code are those owned or controlled by a party that has a direct commercial interest in the coverage they produce, such as a magazine that mainly produces sponsored or advertorial content, or a publication reporting on local council stuff owned by that council, including those owned or controlled by a political advocacy organization such as political party or union. Now, in addition, the news media business annual revenue must exceed 150,000. Now, on the other side, the services that will be governed are Facebook's news feed, including Facebook groups and Facebook pages, Instagram and Facebook's news tab, Google Search, Google News, and Google Discover. After all, Google and Facebook has been using other people's content for a long time on their own platform. And most of the time, those content creators or news media outlets do not get a cut of those profits. Also, Google and Facebook change their algorithm often enough that it can dramatically affect the way news content is displayed, meaning monetized items are more difficult to maintain. Here is what Rod Sims had to say. There is a fundamental bargaining power imbalance between news media businesses and the major digital platforms, partly because news businesses have no option but to deal with the platforms and have had little ability to negotiate over payment for their content or other issues. We wanted a model that would address the bargaining power imbalance and result in fair payment for content which avoided unproductive and drawn-out negotiations and wouldn't reduce the availability of Australian news on Google and Facebook. We believe our proposed draft code achieves these purposes. Fines can range up to $130,000 per infringement. I believe it'll end up more potentially in the future. But for now, that's what it says. Let me know what you think about this. Had Google and Facebook had a free ride far too long? I have linked the document below. Okay, time for some international news. Well, it looks like Elon Musk's Starlink is not the only set of satellites that will be lighting up the night sky. And by lighting up the sky, I literally mean lighting up. Recently, amateur astronomers have taken to the internet via some satellites, obviously, to complain about the night sky being riddled with Elon Musk's little stars. So much so that this image here from Daniel Lopez, who tried to take a photo of a comet, well, you can see just how bad the light pollution can be from Musk's little satellites or little stars in the sky. I can imagine that when they want to launch their Mars mission, Musk will have to make a little door in the sky to not hit any of his own satellites. But here's the thing. It may not just be his satellites anymore. The big news this week is that Amazon took a break from destroying little startups that may threaten their dominant position in the future to invest $10 billion, United States dollars, into putting 3,236 satellites into orbit. As a side note, there must be a company developing like anti-satellite weapons for these little satellites. So instead of colliding in space, they'll like shoot their way out and have little battles. So battle bots in space. I would watch the hell out of that. Now, Musk is going to spam the sky with his satellites, and maybe soon it'll mean Aussies will have access to fast internet via Starlink. But Amazon is also keen to get in on the action, flooding their sky with their own satellites. Now, Amazon this week got permission to launch and their weirdly named Kuiper project. The satellites will provide backhaul services to carriers in addition to direct consumer services. This means they will offer a way for carriers to offer high-speed LTE and 5G wireless connections to their customers in more areas where they don't currently have the ground station infrastructure to do so because it was probably shot down, burnt, or whatever people are doing nowadays. You know, when they were burning down wireless towers, people were saying, oh, they're burning because of 5G. 99% of those towers were 4G, 2G, and 3G towers, because you know what? It's kind of hard to tell if it's a 5G or 4G tower. Now, Amazon's plan starts in the United States, but it has plans to expand their network globally. So expect the night sky to fill up with more and more satellites. To add to that, however, there is a lot of potential for stuff falling out of the sky too. Expect to see that in the news more often too. Finally, our last topic of the day, Microsoft is eyeing up TikTok. Instead of China owning TikTok, it could be Microsoft. Well, this is great news for everyone involved. First off, Microsoft owning TikTok means there is no more fears of China stealing your data. Secondly, Microsoft's tendency to destroy mostly everything they buy or create could mean TikTok's ultimate demise. So positive stories all around. To note, these are just talks and nothing yet has been signed. And on that TikTok, I have to end the episode. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts, and if you like this Dirt Report, then make sure to tap that like button. And if you'd like to see more, smash that red subscribe button. Thank you very much for watching, and bye!